think 2 would be good. If you could go ahead and straighten that leg out, then I'm gonna slide the sheet back, uncover this bolster that's underneath the sheet, and I'm just gonna plop these pillows right on top of there. I'm gonna pull the sheet back up over the pillows, and then I'm going to smoosh the pillows down so that she can put her leg up there. Right? Okay, then I'm going to just adjust and make sure that everything is properly centered. As high as your knee is, you probably wouldn't get it there if you had baby belly. So we are going to angle your knee down just a little bit more to make it a little more realistic, because you would have
More. Yeah.
little manchichi there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So,
We are going to give you the huggy pillow. Now, is everything just perfect?
yes.
Do you feel like you're floating?
I feel amazing.
Nice. Okay. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to get a dab of shea butter. I don't want to use too much and be like super slippery, because then she is going to not get the benefit of the myofascial release. It'll turn into Swedish if I have too much. So I'm going to go ahead and give my L drape in the back. So we're going to just come here and tuck under the side. Can you actually scoot your hips forward just a touch? Perfect, right there. Boom, good. Okay, so I'm just gonna tuck right here. We're gonna pull this up like that here. Now I'm going to start. My first stroke is generally coming up like this, coming through and making sure that I'm getting a bit of lymphatic stimulation in the neck. Right here, and we're just gonna come through and do our long melting myofascial taffy pulling opening, soothing. You can get down here into, like, come up right into the lamina groove and get up here and just kind of encourage everything up away from the spine, and then pull out and open. We can come through here and get some nice little intercostal work going there, but everything that we're doing is smooth, connected, and in the springy layer. And our intention is just pure soothing and calm. Remember that the slower you go, the deeper your tissue affect, or the deeper tissue you affect. When our brain is looking at our body, it could not possibly keep up with every single cell that we have in real time. So what it does is it takes snapshots, and then it only deals with new information after it's taken that snapshot. So by going super duper slow, you force the brain to take more snapshots, right? So like if I go from here to here once, that's one picture. But if I go like this, and all of my changes are really slow, we're getting snapshot, 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 right? So we'll end up with 50 pictures between here and there instead of just 2 if we go really slow. The more information our brain gets from our body, the more it can repair and make plans. So going slow has lots and lots of benefits, just besides the general relaxation that it provides to the client. So when I'm finished with her back, I might come over here and just slide right up. Notice I'm not breaking contact. Slide up into her arm. And get this nice through a lot of times when we're dealing with pregnancy, because of the relaxin, we'll have carpal tunnel symptoms starting to happen. So getting into the arm and the wrist are really nice. You can also, from this position, kind of get into the neck a bit, right? And get some nice little stretches up through there. Slide down, get some nice relaxing hand work in. And then maybe add in our beautiful stretch. So we're gonna just very gently bring this arm up. I'm gonna double check my draping when I move her arm and make sure that this chest area is still covered. I'm gonna instruct her to just let your arm be heavy. What I'm not gonna do is pull this way or do any type of traction. This is just a very light, her arm is just draped over my arm. There's no tug, just support. Then I'm gonna take this hand and put it not over baby, not on the hip, but right over, I'm just gonna call it the rump, right over the little rumpus, right? So we're gonna just take hand right over like the meat of the glutes and the hip. And then you can just lean in. All right, I'm gonna ask you to take several deep breaths now. And remember, if anything ever needs to change, just let me know. Now, as she's breathing, I'm just leaning in really, really gently and allowing her body to expand with each breath and restricting it from compacting when she exhales. So usually there'll be a few breaths that you don't get much movement, and then there'll be one breath where you get like a huge movement, and then there'll be a couple more that are a little bit, and then you'll finally stop getting any movement. Once you stop getting any movement, hold for maybe one or two more breaths. Then you just decide to come out very slowly. I come out of this the same way that I come out of the sacral press, which is incrementally. So I'm gonna decide to come out, and I'm gonna exhale. Then I'm gonna soften my shoulder. Then I'm gonna soften my elbow. Then I'm gonna soften my wrist. And then I'm gonna soften my hand. And then I'm out. Now, once I'm out, I'm very, very carefully and thoughtfully going to grab this wrist with this hand and using both arms, replace this gently here, right? So I'm keeping the support that I have under the elbow and guiding with this so that it's just as tranquil as it can possibly be. So now that I've finished with all this area, that's going to bring me to the back leg. Now, depending on how they're positioned and what your preference is, you can either work on the inside of the bottom leg and then work on the top of the leg and flip them over and do the same thing on the other side, or you can just not bother with the bottom leg and only work on the top leg and just work all the way around it and then flip them and do the same thing. So it just kind of depends on your client's body type, what your preference is, and what you might think that their preference is. But for undraping here, I'm gonna come to the end of the table and come right about even with the knee, right? Gather, 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 and slide right up here in between those pillows. Then I'm gonna get about half a pump or a quarter of a pump of shea butter coconut oil blend, just enough to like make me glossy, because remember, we don't want too much slickness on here, because what we're doing in the in the legs is we're gonna be starting with lymphatic. And with lymphatic, you need to be hooking in and moving the skin a little bit to provide that little stretch so that we stimulate my favorite muscle in the body. Can you guys guess what my favorite muscle is? It's the most adorable, the cutest, and most abundant, the erector pili, right?
Oh,
You guys remember the erector pili, right? They are the cutest, little, tiniest muscles that you have in your body, and they're
Most
like in
pain
between
that I've
the
ever
hair
had in my life.
follicles. Huh?
That's the most pain that I've ever had in my
The
life.
erector pili?
I believe so.
No, they're the ones that give you goosebumps,
Oh, okay.
right? And so when you stimulate those
I
erector
was thinking
pili,
piriformis.
oh no, yeah, the erector pili actually stimulate the lymphatic stuff, right?
That's
They're
gentle.
yeah, because they're like there's like thousands of tiny little muscles in between the layer of the dermis and where the lymphatic system is, and when those squeeze, they actually stimulate the lymphatic flow. And when you are in that top layer of skin and you can kind of like get it tacky to where it like sticks to your hand a little bit, and then you let it go and it like springs back, just kind of like moving it a little and letting it spring back like that, that stimulates the erector pili and they start getting that lymph flow. And so when I start the leg, my first stroke, I usually start around the ankle, and this is basically like a feather touch that is just going to apply the oil. Then I come back down with a little bit more full palmar contact, still very, very light and gentle. Once I feel like the oil is spread around enough, I'm going to start doing my lymphatic strokes, right? Around the outside, around the outside, around the outside. And then I'm going to come through with the lymphatic strokes, and then come up with a nice, soothing, nurturing effleurage stroke, and into your first comma-turn, and coming through, just kind of sweeping all of that lymphatic stuff around the edge so that it can come up and be filtered out. And then after you do, I would say like 3 to 6 of those, then you can get in and start doing your gentle petrissage and myofascial type of opening that's like very soothing and gentle and slow and connected. And then after a few of that, we'll go back into the lymphatic stimulation, and then maybe a little more petrissage. And basically what I do is I just alternate back and forth between the kind of kneading and lymphatic stimulation. So then once that is finished, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to get into this ankle and foot, which by the way is perfectly safe to do as long as I am not intentionally doing acupressure. I may come in from this direction and go ahead and, you know, get the foot worked through there. A lot of times I will also use hot towels on the feet because I don't really like touching the rest of somebody's body after I've touched their feet. So towels are a way to do that. Also, if you don't have towels and you're like me and don't like to do that, you can always take part of your sheet, plop it over the foot, and do that through there. And if you don't want your client to feel self-conscious about that, like, oh gosh, she didn't touch my foot because it's gross, because I always worry about people thinking that. So I tell them, I'm just gonna do your feet through the sheet, that way you won't have oil on your feet when you leave, right? And then they don't feel gross when they put their shoes on, because it's really icky. Like if you've got butter between your toes and you're putting your tennis shoes on, it's like, no thank you. So I'm not gonna torture my clients like that. Once I'm finished with this, pull that out, drop it back down, and I'm gonna come over here and I come to right about at the hip, grab, come down all the way as close to the bottom as I wanna get. Then I'm gonna gather, gather, gather. Once this hand hits right about the knee, I'm gonna let go of this hand and then I'm gonna concentrate on bringing this stuff around loose enough to where I have access. Then I grab my tiny bit of butter and feather light touch. We're gonna apply the oil. Also too, one of the things that I look for when I am first applying the oil with that feather light touch, is there a hot spot, right? Because we want to make sure that we're looking just in case there's any deep vein thrombosis happening. So if you come up through here and you're like, oh wow, that's bright red and super hot, be like, I think we're gonna have to skip this, right? So once you've got your oil applied, come up and work through here, you know, and now that we're on the top, we're also coming around the outside from the back for the lymphatic stimulation. So our comma turns are going to be the other direction. Instead of going that way like we did on the bottom, coming round the outside, round the outside, round the outside on the top, right? So we do our lymphatic strokes. We can get in there, get around the knee. A lot of times that's gonna feel so absolutely incredible, getting like all of the stuff right at the bottom of the quads into the, like right above the patella, through there, right? Always going back to those lymphatic strokes. And then coming through again, you can get the foot again from this angle. Then I'm going to go ahead and cover her up. All right, how are you feeling?
Good.
Sorry to wake you up, but it is time to turn over. I'm gonna go ahead and remove these pillows. Don't go anywhere yet. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out all of these pillows, and then we're gonna have you scoot towards me, roll on your back, scoot towards me again, and then flip over on your side. So don't go anywhere yet. We'll be ready in just a moment. Yeah. Also too, before I get you turned over, you had mentioned that there was some hip and low back issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a nice little mobilization for your hip joint right before we turn you over. So I'm gonna slide these out, and I'm gonna actually just place them over here on the other side of the table so that they're ready for when I get them. I'm gonna reach under here and slide this out also. Now this is the figure 8 rock the baby. I usually do this on the turnover, and we're gonna come right up here. And the draping is a little odd on this. So what I'll usually do is let her keep her Huggy pillow right here. So the Huggy pillow prevents the sheet from going back up this way too much. Then we will get this knee, and I get down into the horse stance. We bring the knee into the crook of the elbow right here. Now, once I've got her in position and the sheet is like this with the Huggy pillow keeping it in place, I can just kind of slide it back, bring up the slack, and just kind of loosely tuck it under here. Like, we don't have to get really complicated with it as long as there's no big show happening. So I'm gonna come in with this arm. We're holding the leg like a baby. And then we're just gonna very gently rock back and forth, very tiny figure 8. And this is just gonna remind the hip joint that it's got all this mobility. You can do circles through here. You can also do a very gentle traction, but you only want to do the traction to the point like right before it starts rolling the body. If you do it to where it's pulling the body moved, that's too much. So you just want to do a little bit of traction just to open up a little bit of space right in there. And if you'd like to get a hip stretch, you can very, very slowly and gently drop this to the table and just let her take a couple of breaths like that. Is that getting any stretch?
Yes.
Okay, and after we've given her a little time to acclimate to the stretch, because one of the things that I think a lot of people forget about stretches is that they have to be longer. You know, like if you sit there and you stretch something for 3.5 seconds, it doesn't really have the same effect as if you let it sit for 8 seconds, you know? So we're gonna go back, do a little bit of this, right? And then I'm gonna straighten her leg out and do just the gentlest, tiniest traction here. How much pressure do you feel like that is?
Not much.
Do you feel like you're getting a traction stretch though?
Yes, I do.
I'm basically like the whole weight of her leg is in my hand, and I'm just supporting the whole weight of her leg and just kind of almost having the idea of pulling back rather than actually pulling back. So then we're gonna plop that down right there. I'm going to recover. And now we're gonna go ahead and turn you over to the other side. As I said, don't go anywhere yet. Let me go ahead and get these blankets. So I'm gonna make sure that I have the sheets completely, held tight. So if you could scoot towards me. Okay, now go ahead and roll over onto your back. Okay, and then roll up onto the side. Now the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check and I'm gonna make sure I have at least 1 hand width from her rear end to the edge of the table. Then I'm also going to make sure that her torso is back far enough on the table that her belly will be comfortable, that she'll have enough room, and that everything will be at the right angle, because we don't want her like this on the table. We want her like this on the table, right? So I'm gonna ask you to go ahead, I'm gonna put my hand on her hip, and ask you to go ahead and scoot your shoulders only back until you hit my hand. Perfect, right there. I put my hand on her hip because inevitably, whenever you ask them to move back their shoulders, they will move their hip back too. So if you specifically say, move only your shoulders, and you keep your hand on their hip, they'll only move back 2 inches instead of 6, right? You'll still get the movement with it, but it'll be less, you mitigate it. So now that I've got a hand width here, she's comfortable here, I'm gonna check her cervical alignment, make sure that her head's not wonky. And then I'm gonna come around here. And if the sheet is not too tight, I will replace it underneath the sheet here. Pop that in there. If the sheet is too tight, who cares? Just put it on top. The last thing we want in a prenatal massage is any kind of stress. If you get a snafu, just ignore it. Go with the flow. Don't get too torn up. So now that I have this in here, I'm gonna go ahead and have her align for that. Now we're gonna cover it up, come back in, smush it down, leg up, perfecto. And now the huggy pillow. Is everything positioned just perfect for you?
Yes.
All right. Now at this point, before I put in the pillows, I could have gone ahead and rocked the baby again to the little figure 8, or I can wait till the end and do it when I'm taking the pillows out right before she gets off the table. Also, you can do this any way you want. You may choose to start again on the legs, or you may choose to start up top, right? So just like in any massage, you can go head to toe or toe to head, whichever direction you like. The main thing is that you want to make sure that all of these lymphatic pathways are open and clear and unrestricted. So if she's got her leg too far up this way, that's going to impede lymphatic return. If she's got her arm scrunched up weird, that's going to impede lymphatic return. So you just want to make sure all the positioning is good and that there's no extra strain on the joints. So now that she is all comfy cozy, since the last leg I worked on was that one, I'm going to start with this one. Again, I come down to the bottom and around the knee. I gather, gather, gather. When I get to here with this hand, it comes off, or it holds this still, and we start draping around. I can tuck excess in between the pillows so that it stays where it needs to go. We do our application of oil, then we're going to start with our lymphatic. And with the lymphatic, you want to start at the top because you want to clear this out, 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 this, and this. Because you can't really push the lymphatic fluid through until the stuff that's above it is gone. So we want to clear out a pathway for it to go through. And then, you know, again, you can get in there with some petrissage, you can get in around the knees, you can get in. I like, one of the things that I really liked when I was pregnant was this. Just rolling and moving the ankle around is somehow just so absolutely soothing. I can't even explain it, but it does something to the proprioceptors that's just delightful. Did you like that?
Yeah.
It just I don't know, it just gives some kind of goodness. So we get all of that worked through, recover, and then I'll come over here and we come right about to the knee, pick up, come down to the bottom, pick up, gather up, slide right in between those pillows. Grab your butter, and again, coming around the outside, we're gonna apply the oil with our feather touch, and then come in with our lymphatic strokes, going around the outside of the leg, and then our nice effleurage, getting a little petrissage when we need it, and then alternating back and forth between those three things. The lymphatic, the nice long stroke up, and the petrissage and myofascial type of stuff. So then you get all of that through. And work on this foot again, either through the sheet or through a towel or barehanded, however you prefer to do it. And then recover. And we'll be tucked right here. Come up with that L drape, expose the back right there, and come through. Make sure you're getting some of that lymphatic stimulation up here. Just kind of rocking the shoulder and rolling it around a little bit really opens up like the axillary and thoracic outlets, and then you can get into that nice deep contact, myofascial yumminess, soothing, just making sure that your pressure is never rolling the client forward, if possible. Do like coming through the rib cage. Some nice little intercostal work. And another one of the stretches that you can do is you can come in here and you can come in right here, and then you just lean in. Take a nice deep breath. And if you have the patience, you can sit here for like 5 minutes and you'll probably get several proposals, because this is amazing. The longer you hold it, the more it opens up. Can you feel it? Is it like bubble wrap popping?
It does.
It just like when you hold these really long myofascial holds, the body just starts letting go layer by layer by layer. Come through and soothe and stretch afterwards. Nice deep. Now, if you would like to work on your client's neck and shoulders, you can take them at this position and come in and get some nice neck work like this, you know, from your stool. You can actually get quite a bit done up in the occipitals from this angle as you're coming through. However, sometimes there are issues that you need to work on supine. So whenever that happens, all you have to do is remember that wedge under the right hip so that the supine hypotensive syndrome does not happen, and you can just, now that we're over here, I'm gonna go ahead and remove these pillows. May I have this pillow? So what we're gonna do now, since you did say that you had some neck and shoulder issues, I am gonna go ahead and put you on your back for just the last 5 minutes of the massage. I'm going to put a wedge under your hip so that the baby doesn't compress your vena cava and cause you to feel like you're gonna pass out. I am gonna ask you to just raise yourself slightly on this arm, right? And I'm just gonna pull this out so that it doesn't get in the way. Then I'm gonna grab these blankies and I'm gonna have you roll over flat on your back to the middle of the table. Yeah, I should have told her to scoot towards me first too. I missed that one. I'm gonna go ahead and place a bolster under her knees. And then I'm gonna get this nifty guy here or something that is equivalent. And I'm going to come in, since I don't have a pillowcase on this, I'm just gonna come in under the sheet, right? And just slide that right in there. How is that feeling? Does that have you at a good angle?
It is developed.
Very important. If at any time while you're face up, you start to feel dizzy or lightheaded, please let me know immediately, because that can mean that your position needs to change. All right, so I'm gonna get through here and here. And may I please ask you to lift your head? Thank you so much. Now we're gonna get into neck and shoulders. Then you can finish with a nice little scalp massage. You can also get a man work on your face. You can also get in and do some face massage. The hips and the jaw are very connected. If you're having dysfunction in one, it will show up in the other many times. And since the pregnancy process is extremely taxing on the pelvis and hips, it's really nice. Oh, we got some Donnie Darko music going.
Sorry, yeah, this song.
So it's very nice to get masseter all loosened up. You can also come in through here and hit platysma, stretch all that out really nice. And then come back up through here on either side of the ear and do some circles, and that's gonna really help with some lymphatic return from up in the head and face, and nice little relaxy. And thank you so much, both of you, for being on my table today. When you stand up, please be very, very careful because you might be lightheaded. So take a couple of nice deep breaths, a good stretch, and when you're ready, stand up very slowly. I have a bottle of water here on the counter for you if you need it. And whenever you're ready, just come on out. Thank you so much.